Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, November 25th. We are looking at a shot for severe weather today with a tornado risk-driven slight risk today in areas in Tennessee, Mississippi areas, and Alabama, and even a little bit of Louisiana are in a risk for tornadoes today with a 5% tornado risk being outlined and a 5% wind and hail risk being outlined. We're also looking at possibly some snow for the upper Midwest areas right after Thanksgiving in a few days. So we're going to break that down also. Let's break it all down now. Here is our day one SPC outlook. You can see we have a slight risk marked in areas in Alabama and far northern Mississippi. We also have a 5% tornado risk outline for Alabama and far north-south Mississippi. And we have a large 2% that stretches from far southern Mississippi up into far eastern Kentucky actually today. We have a 5% damaging wind risk, very small wind risk today, and hail risk. Main risk is going to be isolated supercells along this boundary possibly. Kind of a hit or miss day. So we will see, but our main risk today is actually tornadoes. There is a possibility for a few tornadoes today. We are expecting a lot of discrete cells across areas in Alabama and the Mississippi areas in Tennessee. So we'll be watching that very closely. Let's break down the models. Here is what the models are showing. We already have a little bit of a line of storms from last night, from our tornado risk last night. And if we go a little bit ahead in time, you can see some discrete cells start to fire in Alabama. These cells away from any other cells usually has a bigger shot for tornadoes to try to form from them. So these discrete cells, we have a bunch of discrete cells over here in Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee areas. A lot of cells, supercells that are more discrete like this, have a little bit of a higher chance for tornadoes if they can get into a favorable environment to develop. It looks like we will be having a fairly favorable environment for these storms to try to develop. As long as they can stay a reasonable distance away from each other, they should be able to develop pretty easily. And then overnight, they will go into a line of storms and just go through Georgia as a weak line of storms with wind and hail being possible. No, not much of a tornado risk at that point. We can look at our bulk shear real quick. Here is our bulk shear numbers. We do have a jet stream dipping down. This is from a trough, not dipping down, sorry. A trough that developed over the Pacific and went into Texas, caused severe weather for a couple days, and is now still moving through the southeast now, with a lot of bulk shear from this low pressure system. You can see as we go into the overnight hours where that line storms, as you can see, more decent bulk shear. We have about 30 to 50 bulk shear in a lot of areas today. You definitely have a lot of bulk shear. That makes the environment more favorable. It helps storms to rotate. We can also look at our cape. Here is our surface-based cape today. This is basically our storm's fuel. You can see we do have about 1,000 and 2,000 cape. So we definitely have a favorable environment for these storms to develop, cape and bulk shear wise. We can also look at our supercell composite and our significant tornado parameters. Here is our supercell composite first. We actually have some pretty decent supercell composite numbers. We have 3s, 10s, pretty decent supercell composite numbers where this blue and yellow areas are. The yellow areas are where we have a more favorable environment for supercells. We also got our significant tornado parameter. Here is our significant tornado parameter. This basically shows where the environment is favorable for significant tornadoes, possibly. You can see if we go a little bit ahead in time, we have actually a little bit of favorable environment right now, early morning hours, over here in some areas in Louisiana and Mississippi. Once we go into this area, Alabama and Mississippi areas, we do have about 1 to 2 significant tornado parameter. Even some isolated 2 to 3s in here that yellow is. We definitely have some decent significant tornado parameter numbers today. Let's also go look at our dew points real quick. Here is our dew points. We definitely have enough dew point. We definitely have enough moisture, I mean, for these storms to fire. This blue and green just basically shows that we have more moisture on the ground, which is why we have that 1,000, 2,000 Cape. Cape is basically just the dew point being closer to the normal temperatures, the temperatures in the air instead of the ground. And the closer they are together, the more easier for storms to fire and for convection. Let's look at our normal temperatures real quick. See the difference. This is our normal temperatures. Look, 6, 7. sorry. Okay. But we are looking at about 60, 70 temperatures down here in these areas. It's only about a 10 or less temp to dew point difference, which basically helps our storm to fire and actually have storms. So that is good for the storm to fire. We definitely have a pretty favorable environment. Let's look at our jet stream. Either upper atmosphere jet stream or mid atmosphere jet stream. We definitely have that trough moving, like I said, from that low pressure system that developed off of the Pacific and went to Texas just a few days ago. Definitely have that strong trough taking down. We are also, you can see up here, you can see that strong trough. We are looking at snow possibly after Thanksgiving with a possible polar jet disturbance being possible. Let's go look at that also. Here is our mid-atmosphere jet stream. If you look ahead in time on the GFS model, you can see a trough dig down over here that will bring possibly most likely colder temperatures. Not expecting much snow from this one, possibly some lake effect if it gets cold enough. But then once we go ahead in time to around the 31st to the 1st of December, see a very strong trough dig down, possibly polar jet disturbance, which is basically like a spinning top in the Pacific or in the polar jet in the polar Arctic, and that can, if it gets disrupted, it can drop a lot of cold air down into the U.S. with a strong jet stream, bringing snow and cold air if there's moisture there. So that low pressure system right over the U.S. That is likely going to possibly cause a lot of snow for the upper Midwest and the northern states. We can look at our snowfall totals. Here is our 24-hour snowfall totals on the GFS. Like I said, with the upper Midwest areas and the northern states, you can see that snow on the 30th to the 1st, where that jet stream is moving in, with 9 inches of snow is a little crazy. GFS might be a little bit over, but we'll look at the Euro model also. But even has snow in Ohio, in the central to northern areas in Ohio, in the north, Indiana, Michigan, with about 6, 7 inches of snow, 6, 7. But we're looking at possibly a little snow event. It's pretty far out though. This is still about 5 to 6 days out. So we have to see if this goes true. Models have been trending for this for a little bit now. Let's look at the Euro model. Here is the mid-atmosphere jet stream on the Euro model. A little bit ahead time. Basically shows the same thing but more messy. Shows a lot of cold air jumping in right here. You can see all that jet stream going to bring possibly cold air down into the south. Possibly with this is what the Euro is showing. If we get, let's look at our snowfall totals though. Let's go to our 24-hour snowfall. Here is our 24-hour snowfall totals on the Euro. They're showing on the 30th that big chunk of snow, 5 to 10 inches of snow across Iowa and Indiana and Illinois areas. And eventually going into Ohio. It has Ohio, most of Ohio getting 3 to 5 inches of snow is what the Euro model has shown. This is a little bit of a different snowfall ratio, so we'll have to see how this plays out once it's closer and more close range models show it. But definitely looking like we could possibly have a early season snowstorm across the upper Midwest and the northern states. Let's look at our temperatures because we are looking at possibly core temperatures down south too. Here are the Euromodel's temperatures. You can see the 12 degrees up in areas in Wyoming, 30 across much of the upper Midwest, definitely colder temperature, and even 30s down into Florida, into the northern Florida panhandle. The Euromodel has 39 degrees in northern Florida. We have a very big cold blast if this comes true. We even got 4 degrees in some of these northwest states, so we will see how this plans out. But that's going to be all for this video. We are looking at a severe weather risk today, and possibly snow after Thanksgiving. Thank y'all for watching, and make sure you guys subscribe for more.